Now, let's move on because the head of Google has told the BBC that no company would be immune if the current high valuation of AI tech firms turns out to be a bubble and bursts. Sundar Pichai said that the boom in artificial intelligence had what he described as irrational elements. Mr. Pichai, who has run the company for a decade, also said AI models should not be blindly trusted and warned that governments would have to invest in more infrastructure to cope with the technology's immense energy needs. Here's some of what he told our economics editor, Faisal Islam.
Well, it's an extraordinary moment even by Silicon Valley standards. Every decade or so, you have this inflection points. You have a new technology. It was the personal computer at one point, the internet coming in the late 90s. Then it was mobile. Then it's been cloud, what we call as cloud. Now it's clearly the era of AI.
And can you give us a sense of the scale, the sheer amount of investment going in?
Maybe 4 years ago, Google was spending less than $30 billion per year. This year, that number is going to be over $90 billion. And if you collectively add what all the companies are doing, we have well over $1 trillion of investment going in building the infrastructure for this moment.
Now, you mentioned some of those phases of technological advancement that happened with much market excitement as well. And the obvious question is around the whole of this country, around the whole of the world right now, is it a bubble?
You see real demand, and we are constrained in our ability to serve that demand. So, and given the potential of this technology, the excitement is very rational. It's also true when we go through these investment cycles, there are moments we overshoot, right, collectively as an industry. We can look back at the internet right now. There was clearly a lot of excess investment, but none of us would question whether the internet was profound or did it drive a lot of impact. It's fundamentally changed how we work digitally as a society. I expect AI to be the same. So I think it's both rational, and there are elements of irrationality through a moment like this. No company is going to be immune, including us. If you overinvest, we'll have to work through that phase. For many years, we have taken a deeply differentiated approach to how we have approached AI. So we are better positioned to take a long-term view and approach this moment.
Well, with me now is our economics editor, Faisal Islam, and our AI correspondent, Mark Chiswick. Thank you both very much for coming in. Faisal, quite an interview. The AI bubble has been talked about for some time. It is significant and really interesting to hear what we heard there from Sundar Pichai.
So I think it's important to get the context for those people who don't necessarily follow financial markets, and sort of going out to Silicon Valley to the Mountain View headquarters of Google, one really got a sense of a total frenzy in terms of this AI investments, and all those things we're typing in, all those prompts we're typing in about the sheer infrastructure needed, the energy needed, and you're talking trillions of dollars. And he just mentioned there, they trebled their investment, 30 to 90 billion a year. Other companies are doing the same. He talks about $1 trillion of investment going in. So if you like, that is what we're coming off. And so the question arises, how much of this is real? Now, his answer to me was that a lot of it's real. It's going to change the world. They would say that, wouldn't they? But I think there's some truth to that. But elements of it reflect a certain amount of rationality. I think in the markets, what you're seeing is a distinction between the big companies that have massive revenues. Google scored $100 billion of revenue in a quarter from existing search business and some AI. Others, like Amazon, are generating cash, and they're spending it almost all on this investment in AI. There are other parts of this ecosystem where they're borrowing the money, slightly weird deals, exotic lending. I think that is probably where the markets are looking, and it's probably where Sundar Pichai was suggesting there were elements of irrationality. It doesn't mean the whole AI thing is going to collapse. Even during the dot-com bubble, the famous one 25 years ago, remember, Amazon's share price went down to $6. They're now a $4 trillion company. So I think people are waiting for a shakeout. So interesting views from him. And the sort of implicit thing there was that Google is better positioned, in his view, to ride out what might be a shakeout that a lot of people are talking about, because they invest in things like massive super chips as well as the big models.
Absolutely. Mark, what was your take from the interview?
There's an element of digital Darwinism, if you like, going on here. Jeff Bezos, a couple of months ago, sort of alluded to similar things, that the strongest companies will survive. And there are sort of, it is reminiscent of the dot-com bubble at the turn of the century. But a lot of this is about valuation. Google is in a really, really good position in terms of it's very diversified, its search business is absolutely enormous, it owns companies like YouTube. And then you've got new companies into the AI space like OpenAI that have these huge valuations at $500 billion or something in that kind of region.
Or higher.
Or higher than that, yeah. And they don't have the same kind of product. Yeah, they don't have the same kind of product lineup. They don't have the same kind of revenue that Google has. So Google is very, very insulated from some of this talk of a bubble where companies like OpenAI certainly aren't.
Stay with us for a moment. We're just going to mention that our viewers on BBC Two are leaving us. We are staying here on the news channel. If you want to follow this discussion, we are here on BBC News throughout the day. I'm Geetha Gurumurthy. Sorry to interrupt you. And Faisal, you might know, I know Mark knows, that I am just new into AI because I'm doing a master's in AI ethics, so I'm trying to get my head around it. But the jobs question and the retraining question, reskilling, is one that comes to the forefront of any discussion you have on AI. What did Sundar Pichai teach you about that? Because, like, what do we tell our children? What do we do ourselves?
Exactly. Well, it's quite striking. You see the sheer amount of investment. Kind of, what's this actually going into? And I put it to him, it's about automating many human tasks, is it not? Human jobs, potentially livelihoods. And, you know, I think when you talk to some of these tech bosses, they want to stress the win-win. Oh, it's okay, everyone can retrain and it's all right. And, you know, but like what I do detect now is a certain amount of reality. And I think some of our viewers will be seeing it now. If they've got graduate age kids, they'll be seeing it quite tough in the jobs market. Some of the jobs that we would have expected in creative industries, in the law, in accountancy, they're proving tougher because some of them are being automated via these large language models, not always successfully in terms of some of the issues around that. But yes, I think he acknowledged that. And of course, his answer was you train yourself up using AI, use the tools. And if you know how to use it, you'll be better placed in the jobs market.
Mark, very quickly, the question of trust and truth also came up. Are people just navigating a new frontier where they type in something on AI and they should know that they've got to go and check it with a search?
Everybody now has to absolutely question everything they see on social media, for instance, and they also have to question what they do if they use a chatbot to try and determine answers from it, because they make stuff up, they hallucinate, they get things wrong all of the time. A lot of these products are not ready for prime time quite yet. They have quite a lot of utility, absolutely, but if you're relying on them for accurate answers, for replicable answers, then you're looking at the wrong kind of tech quite yet.